out when it stayed too long. I'm wondering if your love's still strong. Ooh, baby, here I am, fine, still delivered. I'm yours. And that time I went and said goodbye. Now I'm back and not ashamed to cry. Ooh, baby, here I am, fine, still delivered. I'm yours. Here I am, baby. Oh, you got the beauty in your eyes. Here I am, baby. You got the beauty in your eyes. Hey, I've done a lot of foolish things that I really didn't mean. Yeah, didn't I? Oh, baby, seen a lot of things in this old world. When I touch the there is nothing, girl. Baby, here I am, I'm still delivered. I'm yours. I'm yours. Ooh, wait, baby, set my soul on fire. That's why I know you're my only desire. Ooh, baby, here I am, I'm still delivered. I'm yours. Here I am, baby. Whoa, you got my beauty in your hair, baby. Here I am, baby. You got my beauty in your hair, baby. Yeah, I've done a lot of foolish things that I really didn't mean. I could be a broken man, but here I am with the beauty, got the beauty. Here I am, baby. Look at her. She's a bad man, just as fine as she can be. Hey, she's a bad man, just as fine as she can be. Her body measurements are perfect in every dimension. She's got a figure that's gonna get attention. She's poetry in motion, a beautiful sight to see. I get so excited viewing her anatomy. She's built, she's whole, she's tight, got all the curves a man like. She's built, she's tight, got all the curves a man like. Look at her, she's a bad man, just as fine as she can be. Hey, she's a bad man, oh, just as fine as she can be. Looks like she's cold and beautiful, she's bad. But this is the beauty, who's the lovely hair. She's foxy, classy, oh, sexy, sassy. She's heavenly, she's for the eye to see. She's real, she's black, got all the curves of men like. She's real, she's black, got all the curves of men like. Ooh, she's a bad man, ooh, she's bad, she's fine, she's. Hey, she's a bad man, just as fine as she can be.
start video. So just FYI.
Somebody mentioned a virgin dimension. She's got a vision that's shown up energy.
I'll be quiet.
Hey, good morning, Pamela.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
I'm going to see if I can adjust my mic here because it's a little low.
All right. Let's see, I can.
Let's see here.
Mara, you got me okay?
Yeah, I've got you okay.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's see here. We had a lot fewer yesterday in our office meeting because we weren't necessarily covering the how to get all sorts of money stuff. So that's perfect. I see Jason's jumping in. You guys can have like a family reunion.
Hey, Jason, good morning.
Good morning.
Jason, what is school like for you guys now? I mean, I know there's school for you with kids, but school as because what do you teach or outside of obviously coaching basketball?
Sure, yeah, it's world history and AP art history.
Ah.
And the county's requiring us to provide them with 2 assignments per week to be completed. And we're required through the union agreement to be available 4 hours a day.
Interesting. Okay, so available via text or Zoom, or what do you guys? Are you guys doing any live stuff, or just giving them their lessons and then?
Yeah, some people are doing live, and I've got a web meeting that I'm conducting at 10 o'clock this morning with my basketball players that we, text, email. Most of my classes are just via email, and then we've got an online platform that they can submit stuff and send me questions and what have you. So.
Very cool. Very cool. I know my son Joseph is has 3 AP exams coming up, and it's a little different style. Obviously with the shortened at-home concept. So it's been interesting helping him, watching him prepare for those.
They've shortened them, but they've taken the hardest part of them, which is the writing portion, and that's what they have to do. So it'll be interesting.
It'll be very interesting because you're right. And they said, oh yeah, it's open note, open book, which usually alarm bells go off because they said, okay, now everything's on the table, right? And the College Board has done some interesting stuff. I'm helping him with his AP Calculus. And they've got a couple guys that are going through lessons, pretty daily, trying to prep people. And it's interesting to see how their take is on what's going to be on there. Very, very conceptual, not mathematical per se at all. Not like anything you could plug into a calculator and get an answer. It's, hey, look, we want to really understand that you understand.
Yeah, and the histories, I don't know if he's taken any histories, but the writing on the exams is very technical. Like you have to hit the points and you can't be vague. So hopefully his notes are really good that he's got in front of him.
Yeah, he's got, he took U.S. history, AP U.S. history last year, and now I think he's got human geography is one this year.
Okay.
So that's good. How long have you taught AP art history?
It's my 3rd year of AP art history, and then I taught AP world history for 6 years.
Oh, nice. Very good. Is that your was that your major? Was it a history major or?
Yeah, I was social science education. It was my degree.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah, I took a lot of early American history, but I ended up settling in on world history. I actually got a job out of college teaching gifted social studies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which was fun. I got to have the kids. So I got to teach all 3 disciplines in middle school, which was basically geography, world history, and American history. Then I got them all at the end of the day to do, some more creative, more critical thinking type exercises at the end of the day. And we just called the class Gifted Studies. And
nice.
We built a miniature golf course for the for the school, you know, that I was working at the time. So.
That's fun. That's good. And remind me again what school you went to?
So I graduated from UCF.
Okay.
And I taught 3 years of public school, 17 years of private school, and I'm back in the public school at Oviedo High School right now. So.
Nice. Very, very good. Awesome. Good deal. Well, that's perfect. All right. Well, I don't know if we're going to have.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I just wanted to apologize. I'll be leaving here probably in about 20 minutes to conduct my basketball with me. So.
No problem. No problem. Understood completely. So looks like we might have a couple other people just popping in, but understood completely, Jason, if you're jumping out. So looks like we got a few more popping in now. Hope she navigated that tough commute all the way to her computer, and was able to get in. I see Esteban's in as well. It's good to see you guys. We'll get started. And Jason, like I said, no problem here. And if you want to watch either of our Mara, real quick, are we recording these as well?
We are.
Okay, perfect. So this one will be recorded. We always put it up. We will put it up on the FHR University. And if you want to take a look at any other regions, like yesterday, we had a different, same content that we were covering, just in a different format. We had the webinar format, which is a little bit different. I don't know, Mara, I enjoy the webinar's great because we have more people. But I struggle a little bit not being able to see everybody, right? I'm having to imagine the people that I'm speaking to. So I like this format a lot better when I can actually, and some of these people have their cameras off, like Hope and Esteban, Jason. So that's all okay, but I can still see you in my mind because I know you're there. The other people, I can't even see their names really, and know who's on board. So, well, cool. Well, it is, let's see what time I have. Yeah, it's like 9:35. So let's go ahead and get started and jump through. I want to cover some housekeeping stuff. First of all, everybody's doing well. I hope, we've got a smaller group here so we can check in on everybody. There's Hope.
I couldn't figure it out.
Well, now you did. See, look at the things you learned. And Jason's on video as well now, so that's perfect.
Okay.
So before we get started, hey, why don't we just give a quick little update on how everybody's doing and how everybody's hanging in. Jason, you got to leave first, so you want to anything that I can answer for you before you go, as far as conducting business and getting things done?
No, I mean I was able to use the COVID form in the past couple of weeks for showings. I was able to. We had 5 showings one day, so I just dropped all the addresses on that form and got
Nice.
that signed, by my buyer, no problem.
You have any pushback from the buyers at all on that, or?
I think it just depends on the personality of the people you're working with, to be honest.
I agree.
I was working with first-time home buyer. They are really easy to work with, so didn't have any problem.
That's perfect. And we're going to cover, that's part of the one of the things we're going to answer some questions on. We had quite a few questions, so many so that I said, hey, look, you guys might need to call back on virtual office hours to get specifics done. But with this smaller group, we could probably answer some of those. In general, that COVID form, let me pull it up real quick. This is the in-person showing. When they created this document, it was it created a little bit of a pain for us because before I was going with the philosophy that, hey, I think when you're going out looking at properties right now, you understand the risks. It's not like you are unaware of what's going on here, right? But as soon as they created this form, now I've got to make it a mandate, because if I don't, and someone gets their hands on it, says, hey, Florida Realtors made this available and you didn't let your agents know that they should be using this, and so on and so forth. So once it did create some issues, right? Some questions amongst our agents as, okay, well, how do I process this? In a nutshell, just like Jason just did, when he has, 5 different showings, ideally, you'd even ask the seller to say, hey, do you have one of these already in place, right? You look up the listing and see if they have an attachment on the MLS. A lot of times they do not, right? Because they're not abiding by it. So in that case, then you can do what Jason did and just say, hey, here's the specific property. One thing in the future, Jason, that may make it a little easier, I've had this discussion with some people, that if a listing does not have one available specific to that listing with that address, right, that's been completed by the seller, then I'm allowing you, if your buyers are willing, like you said, it's a case-by-case basis, every personality is different, right? But to sign one that says for all showings between May 6th and May 13th, right? Or something like that. So, or if it's going to be a 1 day, then you can do it for even just the 1 day, for all showings for this 1 day. Now, again, I still would love to see one specific to that property, especially if the seller has completed it, but we're finding that most have not completed it, right? And so if not, then you can do that. And I know, and by the way, I'd rather you have 5 than not enough. So good job on that. It's just in the future, if you want to go that direction, I think I will allow it to occur that way. So
yeah, I put all the addresses on one form, but I got you. All showings during certain dates. That's
yeah,
great.
exactly. Again, and if the buyer's comfortable, if they're like, no, I want to see, you know, if they're really vulnerable for some reason, right? If they're, you know, they've got somebody at home that is in a high risk something or whatever, right? Then at that point, you'd have to have the discussion. Hey, look, the seller did not complete this. We don't know what's going on at this house as we're walking in, right? That's the way we should kind of assume anyway. And if you're not comfortable seeing this home because the seller has not completed, then let's just back off, right? Let's not just not show it. And at the end of the day, if anybody doesn't want to sign anything, at least we have evidence that we put it in front of them, then I'm good, right? That, hey, look, you were made aware. It'd be hard for them to say, hey, look, you know, I wasn't aware, Your Honor, when we said, well, here's the email where I sent it, said you need to review this and I really need this filled out, but you elected to go ahead and see it anyway. Then that's, you know, evidence that we've done our job of disclosing, if you will, to do it. So, and then from the listing side, remember the goal is always the occupier, right? So if you have a listing that's tenant occupied, ideally that form would be filled out by the person occupying the property because they're the ones who are going to come in contact with people, right? So we want to make sure that those people are acknowledging. The form does 2 things, right? It gives them a chance to disclose anything that they know. Oh yeah, I'm a healthcare worker and my husband is a nurse and sees COVID patients every day. Okay, that's something that a buyer, potential viewer of that home may want to know, right, as they're coming into that house. And so it gives them an opportunity to disclose. And second of all, gives us an opportunity to say to them, hey, you're aware of that we can't, you know, we're not mandating antibody testing before people walk in the door, right? And so because of that, you're aware that there's some risk if you're agreeing to allow people through, right? And then again, common sense, right? Just think about, you know, hey, look, how would I defend myself? It's sad to say in a situation where someone says, hey, you know, I've been aggrieved because of your actions. Say, well, I did everything I could to try and warn you. And then even at that, when we were showing properties, you know, it's all going to just, there's a lister, there's a listing agent, there's a buyer's agent, there's a seller occupying property and a party, and then there's the buyer, right? So they're all 4 parties, and all 4 parties need to come together to say, hey, how are we going to handle this showing, right? And if it means that, hey, the listing agent says that I'm going to meet everybody there, no one's allowed to touch anything, I'm going to show up with gloves and everybody's going to be in face masks, I'm going to have wipes to wipe down, I'm the only one that's going to open cupboards or open doors, and then once we know that's done, I'm going to go back and wipe everything that we've been done. Everybody else, I joked yesterday in the office meeting about, you know, everybody has kids or has had young children or young grandchildren, right, Pamela, right, recently, and right, when they come in from outside, when they're heading, you know, to their bathroom to go wash up after, it's like, yeah, right here, don't touch the walls, you know, keep your hands right here until you get to, right, and so it's almost like I was joking, that's what we have to do with our people, is say, hey, look, just keep your hands right here. Let me, if you want to see something, let me know, I'll open it, I'll take a look at it because I have gloves on or whatever, right? So we're minimizing the number of people contacting therefore, I think, evidence that we've done everything we can do to try and keep all parties at ease. And that's the whole goal of this thing. And ideally, every week and a half or 2 weeks, when we get some updates on this stuff, we can start to really rein back some of these necessities and eventually get to the point where we can be more, compliant with whatever the CDC guidelines are for that specific area. And I told the group yesterday, remember, we've got government mandates, we've got state mandates, we've got county mandates, and we've got individual municipality mandates, right? Because it is on a case-by-case basis. Some areas are hotter spots than others. The good news is about, we read the stats of Florida. A majority of Florida's issues, not all, but majority are down in Broward, Dade, right? That's where the real hot spots are, and we're not there. And so that's good news, right? That we have that, and it's continuing to get better and better. So good job, Jason. That's awesome. I'm navigating, and that led us right into this COVID thing anyway. So that's perfect to go with. So Pamela, how about you? How are things?
Things are going well. I have been showing properties, through this, and, it's been one of those decisions. I think we all own our own businesses, and what our comfort levels are. I think it's going to vary. I have found that listing agents that I have worked with are either non-responsive and really don't care or aren't up to the regulations. But the ones you do talk to, it's forcing the agents to communicate, I think, more and more in depth.
Mm-hmm.
And, so that has been good. I've shown properties that buyers have had access in. I have also shown listings where we can't get in the home. So like windows, blinds will be open, lights will be on, and you can walk around the perimeter of the home.
Interesting.
And then put that with the video that the agent sends. People are using their imagination, and I think they're talking with their sellers to see comfort levels.
Mm-hmm.
Buyers have put in offers on homes that they haven't seen. They put offers on homes that they've been able to get into. So I think it's a buyer by buyer comfort level. And we as agents need to just work within that. Now, the one thing I am doing, because I am autoimmune, I've got an autoimmune disorder, so I am high risk.
Right.
So for me, it was a little bit of a quandary. Do I even do business with everything? And the buyers that I've been working with are their, parents of a couple I've sold 2 homes for. So it's a couple that I really want to work with. I want to take this family. And you may cringe when I say this, but when they enter properties, they have masks on, they have gloves on, but I don't enter the property. I open the door. I stay by the front door, and I walk home and meet them out back. If they come out back on the lanai or look at the pool area, I'll enter there, but I am not myself with my clients entering the home. But that's precautionary for me.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this. Are you communicating that to the listing agent?
I have not.
That's just one little tweak that maybe just, and obviously you trust your people and your people, but right. If a seller are they, it might be like, not that, we could have nefarious agents as well. Not that you would be that, either. So
right.
That would be the only, but I think that's, and you have to do exactly that because of your situation. I would want you to do nothing else.
Right.
But to maintain your safety. So
yeah, and I've decided that I'm not doing any other business during this time unless I'm picking what I want to do, obviously.
Sure.
Yeah. But I have found working with the other agents, has been great, and some are just lackadaisical, and it's like COVID doesn't even exist.
That's interesting. You would think, if nothing else, I think it's encouraged agents, to your point, to communicate better, right? We got to have, it's not just as simple anymore. It's not as simple as just use the showing button, right?
No, it's not.
There's a little more dialogue that has to occur. So, and Jason, I know you need to roll, so feel free when you drop off. We'll, if you need anything, let me know. Reach out anytime.
I just have one more thing before I go.
Yeah. Yeah.
How is your hair looking so good through all this COVID?
You know, you can't see, I got a ponytail on the back. I'm just slicking it all back to see if you throw it all back fast enough and far enough. Jeanette did a little bit of a trim on me. Jeanette trimmed me up a little bit, but we erred on the side of you can always take off more. You can't put it back, right? So.
All right, take care.
All right, thanks, Jason. Good to see you. Well, and that's great, Pam. And I agree with you 100%. I will tell you this, that we are in an extreme reduced inventory situation for sure. That most people that we're hearing putting houses on the market are getting multiple offers. If they're within range whatsoever, they're getting lots of showings quickly and lots of offers. Because
to that effect, Bob, with me, with this particular buyer, every offer that I put in, and we put in like 4 or 5,
yep,
anywhere from 3 to over a dozen offers.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
And because of that, because people are worried about, it's going to go on with prices. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this at the end. But first of all, I'll give you my opinion. And the more important thing is that we all need to actually pay attention to the numbers as they begin coming out and we get more clarity, right? That we don't want to suppose what we think is going to happen. We're going to actually have data to draw from, right? And take a look at the data and say, yeah, here it is. Here's what is actually occurring, and doing that. So, and that is what we're seeing is multiple offers, inventory. And anytime you have multiple offers, you're not going to have a negative price push, right? You can have just the opposite, right? Anytime there's a lack of supply, over demand, it's going to increase prices and or maintain them for sure. Even if there was, other things that would normally push prices down, it's not happening here. So that's great. And transactions are occurring, volume's happening. So good. Well, I'm hoping you can put these people under contract so you can avoid having to show any more properties.
Oh, we are. We're under contract.
Good.
Yep.
Awesome. Good. You're able to get it. Good deal.
Yep.
Perfect. All right. Hey, Hope, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
Good. How's anything? You got questions or anything going on I can help with?
Well, I have a listing coming up at the 18th, 19th.
Yeah,
and
nice.
So I'm all new to the virtual tours. I'm new to the, setting up the guidelines and all that. So I'm getting some good tips right now.
Good.
I have the form downloaded, getting ready to have her do the listing agreement and all that. But as far as showing protocol, I've gotten some good feedback on that. So that's good.
Good. Have you found a good source for a virtual tour? I mean, have you guys heard this term? I don't know if you got the Matterport tours and all that kind of stuff that are out there. Have you investigated some of that?
Yep. I got a referral from another agent about a Matterport photography video site. And so I've talked to them and try to figure out more about what they do and everything. So I'm actually asking my normal photography guy if he does that too today, because I'd rather go with him.
Yeah, some of them have a package where it's all kind of a la carte, and if you want to add that on, it's also an additional X fee for that.
Yeah, that's what this guy said. It was like $200 for everything: video, pictures, drone. It was like $200 for Matterport for the whole thing.
Wow, that's awesome. Cheap? Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, the cheapest or the least expensive I had heard prior. Prior was $200. I mean, sorry, $250 was $250. Yeah. So that's
I kind of hey, what can you do for me type of a thing.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's awesome. But yeah, and if he does a good job, because those Matterports are great. Because to Pamela's point, sometimes if you have a seller who doesn't really, they want to sell, but they don't want anybody in the house. Yeah. Then you better find a way to make it as viewable as possible, right? And that's funny, Pam. I hadn't heard we'll leave the blinds open and go ahead and peek in the windows before. That's crazy, but that's it's a solution.
Works. Yeah, it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Because the
very, very good.
inspector will figure everything else out. You know, like, I mean, you do have to pay for them, but as far as
Right.
like defects or what have you.
Yeah, right. And you're not going to test that kind of stuff out normally during a showing anyway. It's not like you're
That's
going
true.
through, you know, making sure. But you could see some evidence of, hey, look like there's some water damage or something that you couldn't see by peeking in the window, of course.
True.
But that's why. And then sometimes if the sellers are adamant about not having anybody in the house, then you're going to part of, again, the communication between all the parties. We're all in this together. Let's make this work for everybody.
Yeah.
Is how about, you know, we extend then the inspection period until we can get an inspector in the house, because we're not going to finalize this deal until we know what we're buying, right? And so we're going to have to, maybe if you're not comfortable for another 20 days, then let's make the inspection period 20 days, because the buyer has to either that or leave it short and then at the time extend it again. The problem is your buyer may have an issue there because the seller would not be obligated to extend. All right.
I have a
Nobody's
question.
obligated. Yeah, Pam.
Is anybody seeing where sellers have their home actively listed and won't allow inspectors in? Just curious.
Yeah, we have not, other than it's something that sometimes people just hadn't thought of, right? They hadn't, here's how we're going to handle showings. And then all of a sudden they get that and they're like, oh, now somebody has to come in for 3 hours. Ooh, I'm not so sure I like that, right? And so it wasn't like in advance they thought of it, after the fact. And then we've had to help them kind of, again, all parties, let's come together and negotiate and communicate that makes it, hey, I understand, Mrs. Seller, that you have an elderly parent at home, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a concern. What if we did this? What if we made sure that the inspector wore gloves and and he can be in the room where your mother is for only, 10 minutes, or you can, whatever, it's kind of, again, it's totally different world, right? Having to negotiate around this kind of stuff.
It's being flexible more than anything else. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I agree 100%. Because if the seller says, nope, sorry, nobody can come, well, then you probably don't need to have your house on the market, right?
Yeah,
Really. I mean, if we get to that point, then I understand, but no buyer's going to buy without the right to inspect this thing and see it. So if you're going to say no to all of that, then we better say, let me pull it off the market and just wait until you have a comfort level and we can put it back on.
One thing I was doing, can I explain something?
Yeah.
I've been doing webinars, just kind of like trying to get as much information as possible. Mm-hmm. And I started this paperless agent website. It's like a training session. Have you heard of it?
No. What's it called?
The Paperless Agent.
Okay.
And it's these two guys. One used to be a realtor for like 20 some years. Then he's been really successful. And then the other is a marketing guru. And but they make everything so simple, and for me, I'm like not a techie whatsoever. Right. Direct, simple, step by step. So I've never done this before. I don't have a huge online presence. I do social media, but they're trying to get you to have an online presence because that's the trend of the future. Mm-hmm. And so that's been really helpful. I'm doing a webinar again at 4 p.m. I joined it free for 14 days, and then I joined per month, it's only $67.
67? It's called the Paperless Agent?
The Paperless Agent. They give you blogs. Okay. They give you every month information, new things to put on your website, to share on social media. So that's one thing I've decided to do that's different. Nice.
That's very good. I had heard, and on my PowerPoint, I do have a PowerPoint, and one of them was one of our agents came up with, and it's Keeping Current Matters is another site. Yeah. And it gives you some really good stuff to do. But this one sounds like this might be a little more techie, what you're talking about.
This is like implementing a marketing value program that like just basically, so you don't necessarily have to do open houses. You don't necessarily, you're drawing buyers to you and sellers, of course. And they make it so, they teach you how to do a video. They talk about YouTube and how you should have a channel. All those things I normally wouldn't do. Yeah. That's what they're teaching, which is really awesome. Good.
Well, good. And yeah, if you could post that to the Facebook page for the Orlando group here. Yeah. And then also you're a member of 100K and Just Us Agents as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you could post that there. And if you do get a, check first before you post it. If you get a free month if someone else joins, make sure we have your link. Because did that for this other Keeping Current Matters. One of our agents has her own link, so I promoted that yesterday because it's like $29 a month or something. But if someone else joins and uses her link, you know, she gets a free month. So check that first before you post, because if you're the source of that, we may as well let you get the benefit of.
Yeah, definitely. So
yeah.
That's been really good, and I'm actually really excited. Like, I feel like this is a turning point in my business, which I just felt like I needed at the time. And as much as I hate like social media, I like force myself to like do it. Like,
that's awesome.
Set aside, just do it for an hour today, Hope. Just do it for, you know, not like this big like 3-hour thing, you know.
Right. If you know anything taken in small chunks, right, is very, very palatable. Speaking of AP calculus prep with my son that I'm doing, say, hey, look, if we just do it in small chunks, we'll have, you know, and then if we miss a day, that just adds the chunk to the previous day. So here we go.
Yeah, that sounds good enough.
Yeah.
And can I shoot my daughter's horn for a second? My daughter became valedictorian for her graduating class.
Awesome.
And she graduates on Mother's Day. So she's going to be doing her speech. Everything's online, but pre-recorded speech. Thank you.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, you are allowed to toot her horn. That is fantastic. Does she know where she's going to go to school yet?
Boston University.
Oh, very good. Nice.
Full what do you call that? Fellowship.
Oh, nice.
So it's all expenses plus a stipend per year. So they kind of gave her, I think it's like $29,000 stipend per year.
Wow.
That could be extended for 6 years because she's going for the PhD program.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That is and what school is she the valedictorian of?
Rollins College in Winter Park.
That is awesome. Good for her. And so they're doing this all online. Good for that's impressive.
On Mother's Day, so it's going to be exciting.
Well, very impressive. Well, that'll be a great Mother's Day for you. That's awesome. That's too good. Awesome. And Joanne, how are you?
Okay, I'm fine. How are you? I almost missed the meeting because I wasn't paying attention to my phone. I'm glad I decided to get on.
Well, I'm glad you did too.
Yeah, I do have a contract on that house finally.
Oh, good.
And I had a contract in January, but I don't know if you remember, but at 3 days before the closing, they canceled.
Yeah, I do remember that one. Yes.
Yeah, but we got a.
But you're back under contract?
Yeah, we got a contract with someone else, and it looks like it's gonna go pretty smoothly so far. The contract was Friday. They're having the inspection today, and it looks like it's gonna be okay. June 4th closing. So, and I have another listing coming up that I'm going to be listing in the next couple of weeks.
Nice.
It's also a vacant house, so.
That'd be even more helpful, right? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Well, good deal. I'm glad to, and company wide, true numbers year over year. Some of our overall transaction volume is down. I think the state of Florida, I study this stuff quite a bit, is down about 30%. April was down 30% year over year, numbers of transactions, which in the whole scheme of things, I'm on some larger national stuff, like say the state of Pennsylvania, they locked them down. They were not allowed to, they were not essential. They were not allowed to show so their year over year Aprils were down 95%. Like essentially nothing happened, right? So thank God that we've been able to still get creative, right? And still conduct business in a way that's safe for everybody there and everybody feels good and all that. But, and then, so the state of Florida is about 30%. We, Future Homes about 20%. Right? So we've done better than the average down. And it's amazing to me. You guys are just resilient. And part of what I think about Florida, when I tell these other brokers from across the country, I say, you know what? This is just like an extended hurricane. We adapt, right? We just figure out, we're used to, all these other brokers were trying to figure out, is this force majeure? And what is force majeure? I said, we know force majeure. We do that every June to, at least August, September, right? Right. We've got that whole thing down. We know how to automatically extend contracts based upon lack of services due to in acts of God and all that. And so It's just, I just think, and Floridians in general are a pretty resilient group, right? That we're forward thinking. We're going to find a way to get it done. The good news is that there's a lot of indication that this virus doesn't like sunlight, heat, and humidity. Hello. Come on. Where else are you going to be have a potential of being virus free than a place where there's sunlight, heat, and humidity? And here we are, right? So it's perfect. I'm bullish about how we're going to come out. Hope it does me good. I love to hear your hope in your voice. And so that's all exciting stuff. So kudos to you, and know that the company, you guys, again, I'm just amazed. I look at the numbers. Maureen gives me the deposits a couple times a month or a week. I'll come in. I'm like, you guys are just cranking it. You know, I take a look at paperless pipeline, and deals are still coming in consistently. And it's just, you guys are awesome. It's impressive to see.
What's really cool is that the title companies are doing so well. Like, I was really impressed. I had a closing early last month, and it was just so smooth. Like, even normally a buyer's closing would take at least an hour, right?
Right.
It took less than 35 minutes for her to close, and they had it to a science. It was just amazing.
It's forcing some efficiencies, right? You know, it's like, hey, look, you know, if we're going to limit our time of contact because we have to, right, then let's do that. And why not? Let's keep it going from there on out. Even if we want to spend an hour, let's just have 25 minutes of have a cup of coffee now, because we got everything signed for 35 minutes. We don't need to drag this out, right?
And I have noticed, I got an email from the lender that my buyers are using, that the lenders now are preparing some of the docs that had to be signed at closing and letting buyers sign it all electronically just prior to close, which will cut paperwork as well.
That's smart. I mean, again, it's just everybody working together, right? I talked about the 4 parties getting a contract. Now we got to extend that circle when we're trying to get to closing, right? We've got title and home inspectors and lenders and all that. So now we just expand that circle and say, okay, let's all work together to make sure we're doing what we need to do to get this to the finish line.
Right. I think my only concern is, you know, I was not at inspections. That was negotiated in. It was just the inspector. You know, so you lose that time with your buyer. You know, just because that's to me time that is crucial with your buyer to learn just little hidden things that you haven't learned through the process. You know, title companies too are saying, okay, realtors don't attend closings. You know, so some of those things are difficult because you're not as involved. However, I think like with Hope, you're exploring different things, you know, through your paperless pipeline and you know, I want to take a look at that keeping current matters. You know, I think we're going to come up with different ways to replace some of those things that we naturally would be doing.
Absolutely. And I agree with you, Pamela. And maybe there's a way that say, hey, you know what, if you know your clients, hey, I know we're not supposed to, you know, be together. So let's find a way to just put me on FaceTime or put me on something, because I want to be there. I want to be there to answer your questions just in case something pops up while you're doing your remote closing, right? I want to, you know, again, I don't know, maybe this paperless agent has a thought on that too, you know, about how you can.
Because there's a webinar at 4 p.m. if anybody's interested, and it's free today.
Yeah. Awesome.
So you can ask questions. There's like a whole chat section. You can ask.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're really good about answering.
That's great. You know, and I think this is going to change. Like anything does, it changes the way we're going to do business in the future. But I think for the better, right? Yeah. When I mean say, hey, look, maybe, you know, there are some things that we were not as efficient as we could have been. And now let's take advantage of that extra time and spend it elsewhere, maybe doing more marketing for, you know, whatever that marketing might look like, whether that be a little more social media as opposed to open houses and so on and so forth. Like, it's just I think there's a lot of opportunity. That's one of my points on my PowerPoint I have up here, that it's always the case that market share always shifts. When I say it shifts, means it's grabbed, right, by people who are flexible and adaptable in situations like this, right? That how do we become, let's pay attention to what the needs and the concerns are of the consumer, all right? And let's be an answer to those concerns, right? I'm just thinking through my PowerPoint without having it up there, is one of the things that hit me. You guys know, sometimes, most of the time we're meeting at the Hampton Inn, right? But obviously we're not there. We're here instead. Even though with that, and Hampton Inn's a Hilton product. When I stay, for some reason, I've been a Marriott guy, so I bulk up these massive Marriott points, right? So but I got to be honest with you, I haven't heard from Marriott at all, but Hilton has reached out, and I've also heard some interviews with their CEO, and they've already started hey, as we come out of this, let's talk about the 20 specific ways we're going to ensure that your room is clean, right? And they're saying, hey, look, we know that the client has a concern, that the consumer is going to have a concern. And we've got to overcome that before we can even expect them to walk in our doors. Right? So because of that, let's not bury our head in the sand and pretend like it doesn't exist and let's hope it all goes away, right? But let's give them some peace of mind, right? Where, and at first for me, it's probably gonna be, I'm only stay at a hotel when I'm forced to, like that's the last resort, right? And that's okay. But as we begin to come further and further out, then it's like, okay, who am I gonna use? Well, I'm gonna use the people that are, got this 20 point, they've done they've created a partnership with Lysol, and all this kind of stuff. They're telling us and again, this is what companies do to grab market share when people have a renewed or a different type of concern that they didn't have before, right? So how do we do that? I'm not saying that we have to go do partnerships with Lysol, but how are we going to adapt our businesses to alleviate fears and concerns in our consumer to say, and then after that, how do we communicate that, right, Hope? How do we get that out to them in a way that's not an alarmist way, but hey, we get it, and here's what we're doing,
Yeah, that's what that company does. Like, how you talk, eyeball to eyeball, we can't do that much anymore.
Correct, right?
Education and building rapport and reaching out to your sphere on a regular basis in a personal way, as opposed to just saying, hey, you got any listings or buys that like always educating, personally reaching out, asking them about their kids, previous buyers and sphere. So they do preach that too, which is really cool.
Which goes back right to our generosity generation and Michael Mayer stuff, right? Is going deeper with a few rather than shallow with many. Yeah. Right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It's just really get down and which is all part of it. And a final aspect to that, and part of what the Keeping Current Matters site is going to do, and then what I'm going to be doing is I begin next week. I'm going to start doing weekly market updates, trying to dig through some of the data for you guys and really say, hey, here's some stuff, and here's where you can go to grab this on your own, right? And because I truly believe we're going to have to start looking this on like kind of a 7-day windows, right? And say, okay, hey, look, because things are changing so rapidly as we come out, then, hey, look, yes, things are down year over year, but week over week, all right, this week compared to last week, we saw a 0.5% uptick in the number of listings coming on the market, whatever that might be, right? And so we begin to see trends, because some of us, none of us know exactly what's going to happen, in particular, but we're going to analyze the data as it becomes available so we can then communicate that to our sphere and let people know how to make educated decisions based upon that. So, and I think that's going to be critical as well. But doing it, right, you said, Hope, delivering that message in not a wonky way, like, hey, let's take a look at the regression analysis of the, like, okay, let's just talk about what's happening in everyday layman's terms. Let's talk about what's happening here, right?
Yeah,
look at the numbers.
The whole scripting thing is not like me, like, the whole scripting, this is what's going to happen.
No.
Like it's just, that's just not me. I'm more personal.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's perfect. That's perfect.
I have found in the past, and I think I'm going to be doing this now going forward, but taking the absorption rate, which people love absorption rate when you explain it to them and they, start expecting it from you all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it for one subdivision. You can do it for a radius. You can do it for a zip code. You can do it for aura, area. Absorption rate can be as big or as little. And I have found in the past, people love that. And to do
Pamela, explain absorption rate for some of the other people
Yeah.
who may not know
I'm
exactly.
confused about it.
absorption rate is how quickly current active will sell. So
Okay.
other homes. So today, say if my neighborhood had 5 homes on the market today, how quickly, without any new homes coming on the market, with today's current trend, how quickly would those homes just, be under contract? And typically, in areas that I do absorption rate, the last 5 years, the pockets have been under a 2-month absorption rate. And when I can go in and tell a seller, hey, your particular subdivision, your particular zip code, we only have a 2-month supply of homes if no new homes came on the market. It helps. I can pretty accurately tell my seller how long their home will be on the market for. If we're priced properly, home is presented well. And people, like some of the emails and mailings I've done in the past, I've actually if I've missed a mailing, or I will have people call me and ask for the absorption rate. Because not many realtors use it. And it's something that is so easy to calculate.
And it's a critical number. Now, and remind everybody that absorption rate is 2 months. Let's say it was absorption rate, we had like a 2-month supply, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, right. A 5 to 6 month supply of homes on market is a normal market. When
Right.
over that 6-month supply, it becomes a buyer's market. And when you go under that 5-month supply, you're now in a seller's market.
Absolutely. That's perfect. And then when we're calculating that, it's not to close, it's time to contract. Is that correct?
It is to close. Yeah, well, that's a good question.
I think you could evaluate it both ways, but
Yeah.
and so that's something just to look at and just determine, hey, look, are we doing it? How long did it take from the time it came on the market to the time that it closed, or the time it came on the market to the time we got a contract?
Got an offer.
Either
Right.
way, right? Exactly.
I think because it goes from using your active, and I use my active and my sold, but I guess you could also probably use a pending too.
Right, but or maybe do both, right? Say, hey, look,
Right.
and that way too, you can also say, hey, look, this is, you could extrapolate the difference between the two and say,
Correct.
well, it's on average, it's taking 37 days from contract to close in your neighborhood as well, right? Or whatever,
Right.
So kind of interesting when you start to dig into the data and you can get into real minutia. I will just, as a company, why be doing it kind of at not a surface level. I won't be going a huge deep dive, but hopefully I'm going to find some good sources that I can direct you where if you want to dive deeper into a specific subdivision like that, then we can do that.
Right.
So, cool. That's awesome. Very, very good. Well, cool. Let me, Esteban, how are you? You got anything you need to add or questions?
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can. We can't see you, but that's okay. We can hear you just fine.
I don't do it on purpose. I connect from my desktop and it doesn't have a camera.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Okay. Like I'm just wearing just a regular underwear shirt and, short. I don't have to worry about how I look basically. So I like it.
Yeah, that's perfect. And when there's no camera, you don't have any fear of that coming on accidentally. So that's perfect.
Yeah, I know. Great. Yes, I have a few things that I want to share with the group. First off, well, I mostly work from home anyway, so it doesn't affect me greatly.
Mhm.
I still have a few listings. It has slowed down, the amount of people calling to show the properties, but
Mhm.
it's still going.
Are they
Had
occupied or
last
vacant?
month. So that was good. A lot of communication. That has definitely increased. When you are working with somebody, other realtors, the communication is up. So like daily emails and phone calls and try to get everybody on the same page. So I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of what we probably should have been doing all along, right?
Oh, yeah. So I am working now, well, with it's a customer that wants to build a home from scratch. I can't remember if I discussed this with you initially, Bob, but I work with a small developer who
Mhm.
do a lot of work for commercial but they also do some for residential. And when that is the case, I represent them. And so I've been working with this customer for a while. He's from New York, and he had his house in New York on the contract for probably now 3 months. And finally, we get in a closing date for his home on May. So it's been delayed because of the consequences of the COVID-19, but finally
Mhm.
coming to an end. But I wanted to mention, because most of you, or all of you, are in Orlando now, right?
Yes.
He's sort of like a boutique developer, totally custom homes, and we could start from scratch. So if any of you have a customer that don't want to be in a particular community, they want to be like on their own, on a no HOA situation, so they could build whatever and not be subject to any rules of anything like that. I can help with that, and I'd be
I have a
more.
That's
question.
awesome. That's like a build on your lot kind of guy, right?
That's exactly right. It is. So, so you're welcome to contact me if you had any buyer in in that situation. I'd be glad to help. And yeah, they're usually nice homes. Like this one I'm working with is easily over 500,000. It's gonna be in St. Cloud, a nice lot. He already has a lot. So that's something for you guys to know, just in case, because there aren't that many builders that are willing to go to your own land and build for you.
Yeah, I'm interested in that, Esteban.
Okay.
I have
Um,
someone that has a piece of land in Oviedo and they
okay.
want to build it. Minimum, maximum, I think 350.
Okay. All right. Well, we can
So
talk.
yeah, I'd like to get that information,
Okay. Um,
please.
I, I don't know. Well, yes, all of our contact information is on the website, right on the on
Yeah.
our page.
Yes. If you look up everybody's spot there, and Esteban, tell them your last name so that in case Hope
Clavel,
wants to look.
Clavell, Clavel.
Lavelle. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. On the other hand, I have been doing maybe 1 or 2 classes a week. Everybody's now offering these, but some of them are really good. Like we have a lot of tools at the Aura portal, and
Yep.
it's a lot of good information. And sometimes you've seen it there, but you haven't really used it. Like yesterday, there was a class for the realist,
Hmm.
and it offered great information from the tax point of view and comparable and all that. And so I just wanted to throw in there, because if you have extra time, I'm assuming you do now. Uh, you just be watching for the emails, because they're offering like every week 2, 3, 4 classes. I did the new home source. That was very good too. It gives you tools to capture leads. And most of them are being recorded. So even if the time already passed, you could still find it if you go to the library, and they're free. So those are great tools that you could take advantage of.
We have, and you are, and Esteban, I'm so glad you brought that up because we have so many resources, right? We really do available. And I just want to go through my slide real quick because that's part of that is I was going to cover, I just want to make sure I hit everything, but then I'm going to touch on what Esteban just brought up too as well. So let me just take a look at this. Housekeeping items, you guys can see my screen, right? Continue, everything's going great. The staff is on top of things. I don't know if you put a file in lately, but you're usually getting a response like in 15 minutes. So they're monitoring constantly. We're getting all sorts of great things done. If you do, please remember, offices are available. All of our offices are open, all right, for you to use if you need to. They're being cleaned weekly, so it's all everything's good to go there. If you do go and use the office, please follow CDC guidelines and do what we need to do, right, to try and keep it ready for the next person as well, right, and do everything you can to minimize touch if you have to go into an office and use something. If you're sending anything overnight to the West Chase, the Tampa office, which is the mothership, right, where we ask that you send all paperwork if you are actually sending stuff in paper form, like a check or something. Make sure because we don't have people there right now full time. If you overnight stuff, just make sure no signature required, because we do have a drop box where they can drop that. If you do signature required, it gets returned and it gets in this endless loop of we'll never catch up with that stuff. So if you could just make sure no signature required. We talked about the in-person acknowledgement, the ways that we're conducting business. Everybody's making their adaptations. and all that. Again, this is what I was going to hit on with what Esteban just brought up, right? We have our virtual office hours Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 1 to 2. Feel free to jump on those if you ever have anything you really want to chat with. We're seeing a lot more engagement there, not only from specific problems that we're having or issues, but just sometimes, hey, I haven't seen anybody in a while, want to catch up, right? And so it's a good place to pop in and socially. Remember, we're not social distancers, we're physical distancing, but still staying socially interactive like we're doing right now. So that's perfect. I love these kind of things. So, and then virtual book club every Tuesday. We didn't do it yesterday because we had the office meeting, but I don't have my book out here with me. We're just started. It's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And if you'd love to join us, we meet Tuesdays at 10 a.m. We read real slow. Matter of fact, we introduced the book already. The first assignment was to read the intro through chapter 1. We usually try to take it in 25 to 30 page blocks on a week, so it makes it real palatable. And then we just kind of open forum, let's discuss, hey, what'd you think, right? And it's an hour only, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Tuesdays. The links are on our FHR calendar. If you'd like to join that, we'd love to have you jump in. And again, it's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. FHR University training spot has all sorts of good stuff. Anything that I think is very important for the time, like these COVID, like when the COVID extension addendum came out, and now this COVID in-person showing acknowledgement, those are on the front page. I have videos on both of those if you want to get some updates on that. But FHR calendar goes through a lot of stuff, right? If you dig into there, there's a lot of stuff. Our FHR calendar has links to our Zoom trainings, the Facebook pages, which I hopefully you guys have jumped on between our Orlando, Just Us Agents. There's one called Just Us Agents, FHR, and the 100K are great spots to put if you want to share something, or if you're looking for a good question answered regarding conducting business in particular to do that. So make sure you're continuing to stay engaged. Great resources. We talked about this is where I brought up NAR is doing a great job. If you haven't been to their site lately, check it out. They've got all sorts of updated COVID stuff that's specific to, hey, here's a great resource for ways to do virtual showings and all that kind of stuff. Florida Realtors, same thing. To Esteban's point, the local boards are doing a fantastic job from information, training. A lot of them are offering, even you can get some of these designations that you've been maybe wanting to do. You can actually do those virtually now instead of having to go in person and do that. Real estate market reports per Pamela was talking about, right? When you're talking about absorption rate and where are we to compare to, last month and how are things changing? And as we're coming out, all that stuff is available. So pour in and learn that stuff. And like Esteban's point, just, hey, looking realist, yeah, we see that and say, well, I'm going to look up the public record so I can see how much livable square footage the public record says. And then you click off. Well, there's a lot more data there, right? There's a lot you can glean from past sales and what market trends are doing and all that from that. So take advantage of this time, like Esteban said. I think I agree with you 100%. Pam?
Just to your expanding aura is doing, I just did my core law and what's the other one that we have to do now too?
Ethics?
They're free. The webinars are free. You get the 3 CE credits and usually you pay for those.
Yeah.
And I did another 2 CE one last week, again, free.
That's perfect.
It's rare to find a CE that's free and Aura's right now.
That's awesome. That is fantastic. So thank you for reminding us about that as well. Yeah. So all your continuing ed you can get done and knocked out of the way. There's just a lot of good stuff, right? That we can continue to make sure that we're adapting, but staying current, but there's opportunities abound, right? And because if not, our days can get away from us too if we allow them, right? So I would schedule it in, like Hope said, I'm just going to do 40 minutes of social media today, and I'm going to get it done and knock it out. And in 40 minutes of concentrated effort is worth 3 hours of unconcentrated effort.
Yeah.
Right? And we know that. So that's perfect. Generosity Generation, I brought that up. Michael Mayer's group has a thing every afternoon, Monday through Friday, 1 o'clock. Pam, have you been on those at all or checked those out? Okay, that's it's some pretty good stuff. He has a lot of people coming in that experts that are living in different areas, and I think all the replays are available. So if you join, check that out. And then there's that Keeping Current Matters I mentioned at the bottom. I know my slide got a little lengthy. There's the link in case you're looking for that link to try that. It's http:// try KCM, which is keepingcurrentmatters.com/A18000. That's that Cindy Hayden link where she would, if you end up joining, she would get that. And Hope's going to get her own link for us. So in case we join Paperless Agent, she can get some months free. That'd be great.
You cut out for a minute. My computer's been acting up. What was the website that you were just telling them about?
That's the Keeping Current Matters at the bottom.
Okay.
And there's that link. And I don't know if you can read that link because at the bottom of my slide, it's kind of cut off. Yeah. It's http:// try, so TRY, KCM, K for keeping, C for current, M for matters, / A, lowercase a, I don't know if that matters, lowercase a, 18,000.
Okay.
And that's Cindy Hayden's link to that, so she would get some benefit if you end up going and using that. So
okay,
cool. But all these things are really cool to see how much is available for us to really to dig in, because part of my next slide, right, choosing our time wisely, right, and just say how are we going to invest right now in this time, right? Commit to focusing on coming out of this. Reminding yourself that you are a business owner. And as Pam reminded us earlier, everybody is different, right? Has different circumstances and situations, right? But come out better, stronger, and more efficient, right? Ways, and we kind of hit on this already, how title companies are becoming more efficient, and it's going to help us all. I think that we're training buyers, a group of buyers now, to really hone in and narrow down. So the days of having to show 25 properties may be long gone, right? That, hey, look, if the listing agents and we're all on board with this and we really start to, hey, why don't we narrow this down to, you know what, out of all those, I think these 3 are the ones I really need to see in person. And how much better is that going to be for all of us, right? To have that. I think it's fantastic. So we'll become more efficient. Always look, you know what I mean? This would not, there is no, it's like a rule of mine. I'm not allowed to have a Zoom class without mentioning Stephen Covey, right? So this is Covey's 7th habit of highly effective people. He calls it sharpen the saw. Now, I don't know if this is a wives' tale or not, or urban legend or whatever, but the theory or the legend is that Abraham Lincoln was asked, hey, Abraham, if you had, Abe, I don't call him Abraham. When's the last time he's called Abraham personally? Hey, Abe, if you had a huge tree 6 foot in diameter, and I gave you 6 hours to cut it down, what would be the first thing you do, right? And everybody else says, well, I'm going to get to sawing right away. If I only got 6 hours, I've got to really get that thing knocked out, right? So I'm going to start sawing right away. And Abe, his famous response was, I'd spend the first 4 hours sharpening the saw, right? And so many times we just jump into the task, whereas if we had stepped back and planned the task or thought about, hey, look, what's the most efficient way to do this? In the end of the day, it's the tortoise and the hare, right? The tortoise ends up winning because we took the time to make sure we were doing things right. You know what I mean? And so these are our times, to Esteban's point, to, hey, look, let's really glean and focus in and know real list like nobody's business, right? Why not do that now and sharpen the saw so when really ready to run this thing full speed and we can go. So look for ways to sharpen the saw. Market share, I hit on this, remember, market share always shifts during turbulent times, right? People who learn to adapt are the ones who are going to come out of this the best and say, hey, look, now I'm even, boy, got a small blip, but now I'm doing more business than I ever dreamed of, right? And it's fantastic. I already shared the Hilton's story, right? We talked about that. Again, how are we going to alleviate fears or concerns in our clients? What can we do to overcome those obstacles they might have? All right. What changes do I need to make to my business structure to make sure I'm doing that? Know your numbers. We talked about that, Pam, right? Absorption rate. And as I'm going to start doing these weekly updates, we got to know our numbers and how to communicate that to our clients, and adapt to each situation, right? We've already covered a lot of these things because that's just a natural thing, is that every, buddy has a different set of needs. So one person's like, hey, you know what? I'm 23, young and healthy, and let's go look at properties. That doesn't matter. Other people like, hey, I have an autoimmune situation and I've got to make some adjustments here. But as long as we communicate that and we're all on board, let's just get it done, right? And find a way to make it happen. And just so you know, I'm bullish on a quick recovery. All right, I really am. There's nothing, you guys heard me say it before. Our economy is a river, right? And we got this we had this raging river 8 weeks ago, right? It was raging. Unemployment, historic lows ever in our history, right? Just and what we've done, and is not anything that was a problem with the economy, but we just said, you know what? We're going to throw a dam right in the middle of that thing. Okay. And so, right, we did that, and we got all this pent up water behind, because there's nothing wrong with the fundamentals of the economy behind, right? Now, when we start to open some floodgates, right? Boom, 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 here we go. We're going to open a few, like we already have begun in Florida, right? We've got some, restaurants are allowed, was it 25 or 50%, occupancy now? And it was at Hope. You're muted.
25%.
25%.
Yeah.
Right. And then, if that works for 2 weeks, then maybe we can make it up to 40%. You know what I mean? They're going to phase us in, which is a smart way to do it, in my opinion. Right. So it's a good way to do, and we can monitor all this kind of stuff. But as we start to do this, I'm bullish. The other thing I'm bullish on is I'm looking for ways that I can support the United States of America's GDP, the gross domestic product. Right. I really am. Ways that, I'll be honest with you, there were times in the past like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I know it's cheaper to make it in China, so it is, but that's okay, because we'll find ways to also still have, employment in different ways for that. But then you guys are different. I didn't know that 98% of our ibuprofen is made in China, right? I'm like, well, where'd that come from, right? Those are things I don't know. And if they ever really wanted to do, how many times do people take ibuprofen a day? I mean, I know other people are more holistic, but sometimes, boy, if they really wanted to taint our, get after us as a country, it's, something we ingest on a pretty consistent basis. So all that being said, I'm looking for ways that I can help the American gross domestic product. And if we all do that, because remember, I told you 20% revenues, we had a transaction dip, Future Home Realty April over April, right? That's okay, because we're still fine, because I've also seen a 20+% reduction in my expenses, right? And that's all great. But then I realized, you know what? My expenses are somebody else's revenue, right? Right? The fact that I'm not staying at the, Marriott's right now, that's great for my expense part of my balance sheet, or my profit and loss, but not so great for the revenue side of Marriott's balance sheet, right? And so we realize how intertwined we are, and that's why I'm committed to doing that. So I really anticipate more of a V. They talk about, hey, look, we're having a reduction now, and then when we come out, I'm not expecting it to be a hockey stick. The hockey stick means that we went down and we're going to stay down, right? No, I expect a V, that we're going to get back up. Now, how quickly we go up is going to be a matter in different parts for different places. But don't forget, the virus doesn't like sunlight, heat, and humidity, right? And I see Hope's background right now. She's sitting in sunlight, heat, and humidity as we speak. So that's perfect. That's all right. That's all okay. So I'm just, I'm confident, and I'm confident in just seeing what you guys have been able to do while we've had temporary shutdown stuff. Now, as we begin to ease out of this, I have no doubts in my mind we'll be back to running normal here sooner than later, in a heartbeat. So real quickly, we started running short on time. in May, we generally get a chance to cover, and I'll go to this next slide in a minute and go through our stuff, because in May is a chance. I don't know if you guys remember, but we pay sponsor bonuses, right, when you introduce another agent to us, right? Now, many of you come from Keller Williams, and so it's not 7 levels deep, and it's not, this kind of thing, right? It's just a straight one-on-one introduction referral, right? So if you introduce an agent to us, then what we do is a thank you. I love to compare it to Keller Williams anyway, because it's not profit sharing. It's based on the top line, all right? It's all revenue sharing is what it is, right? So it doesn't matter if we were profitable as a company or not, I still owe you this money, right? Okay, because you've introduced us to us, them to us. So what we do is we take 10% of the, now Joanne, who is that? You are not allowed to bring babies on camera. That is, it's going to distract us all.
He's not making a sound. He's just.
I know it's and when I say you're not allowed, it's because now forget real estate, schmill estate. We got a little baby to look at.
It's my daughter's nephew.
Oh, that is fun. He is cute. What's his name?
His name is Alexander, but they call him Xander.
Xander, very good, awesome. He is cute.
Yeah,
look there. He's a happy guy too.
He is.
That's perfect. Good deal. Awesome. All right, perfect. Well, I just had to at least recognize the fact we had one of our agents at one of our virtual office meetings had it was at our book club. He's part of our book club, and he and his wife were expecting a child, and he was born, and literally, what's his name? The young son's name. Made his first Zoom meeting appearance like 18 hours after his birth. So he was already, I said 18 hours old, and he's already on a Zoom meeting. So it was fantastic. So that's great. It's good to see everybody. So anyway, so the sponsor bonus, so let's say Pamela introduced Hope to us, right? And Hope does some transactions. Every time Hope does a deal and pays Future Home $250, then we take 10% of that, or $25 of that, and we put it in. We don't pay Pam a check every time, but we just keep track of it, and we track these little $25 checks for every closing that Hope has, and Pam's the one that introduced Hope to us. And so then the following May, we pay for 2019's bonuses. All right, it's all based upon how our cash flows go. So now is this time to do it. Just so you know, all right, we're going to be paying out over $49,000 in bonuses right now. Checks are going out as we speak, right? So that's exciting news. And so good reminder, I think we had 230 some odd checks are going out. So people that have, and some of them as low as $20, all right? And you're going to see, I think I have the top 6 here that I've listed. And see, and it can be, it's just a good reminder, because we think our goal, my staff, right, my team, I remind them daily, we want to be recommendable, right? We want to provide an opportunity and an experience for the agents that they say, you know what, this is a no-brainer. You really should just go jump in with Future Home. It's just, and by the way, most of our agents who, that's all it takes. It's not some lengthy, hey, I got to sit through a 1-hour EXP presentation, right? for you to get to join, right? No, it's just, hey, you know what? I got paid at closing. I saw you didn't get paid at closing, and I saw your check was only about 60% of your commission. You ought to really give Jim a call or Bob a call and hand them a card. That's it, right? And that's what the majority of our agents who are getting these bigger bonus checks have done. And then they step away. The people mention, hey, Pam mentioned to me that I should give you a call, and here we go, right? And so it's as easy as that. But we're paying out over $49,000 in bonuses, right? Number 6 is a lady, Joanne Dunn. She's getting a check for $834.90, right? Okay, which is great. I mean, it pays for MLS dues are coming up, right? I think MLS dues are due soon, right? That'll pay for MLS dues. What's it?
Extended it to June 30th.
Yeah, that's good. All right, that's perfect. That's helpful.
Yeah.
But my goal is to be able to again thank people. And by the way, these bonuses are paid every year as long as all the agents are still with Future Home, right? And there's no limit on how many people you can introduce to us, right? So $834.90. Cindy Hayden, who I mentioned earlier, she gets a check for $846. Guy Chris Johnson, $863.68. Manuela Woodrum will get over $1,000, $1,074. And I think she only has 3 agents that she referred, but they're all cappers, right? And so if you refer, she referred 3 cappers, and here you are. By the way, we don't pay on the monthly dues. We only pay on the transaction fees. Your bonus is calculated based on that. So if you want to do the math, which I like to do, of course, the maximum bonus for any one agent you would refer would be $358. And the reason I come up with that is the max they're going to pay us is $4,000. That's our cap, right? If you subtract out the $420 in monthly fees, 35 times 12, that leaves $3,580, and 10% of that is $358. So I think that's exactly where that. If you divide that by 3, you get 358, 1,074. So that's where that came from. Wendy, our very own Wendy Lant, was number 2 in the company, and she gets a $1,187.63 check, all right, for her referrals and agents that she's introduced to us. And actually, this is the first year we got over this threshold. One of our guys over $2,000 that he's getting, and he's a very, again, it's not like he's out there recruiting. He's just like, hey, hey, I saw you're a future home, man. What do you think? Oh, it's great. You got to call him. That's all he does, and give him my name. So that being said, we appreciate all the introductions, and wouldn't want to pay out $49,000 with saying, hey, look, we appreciate it, and keep it up. All right. If you want a piece of this action, then don't be afraid to mention us, and we'd love to chat with anybody you have. We're continuing to grow, 1,400 plus agents, and growing. We're still growing through this. We've done lots of Zoom calls if people want to meet face to face. We've even brought people on during this time via Zoom, and other times, a lot of people are like, no, I'm good. I can see it online, and let's just join and let's go. So we've kind of been structured for this all along anyway. So it's been good. Anybody have any questions on that? Nope. Cool. Awesome. Let me go real quick through them. We got a couple minutes if you guys do. I want to share, I also normally in May go through and revisit our, what I call Who is Future Home Realty, right? This is our time that we remind ourselves why we're so easy to refer, right? Or to recommend, and why we can be recommendable. So I start with our vision, right? And this vision, by the way, if you look at the website, it says Future Home Realty began in 2001, and it did, but for 3 years, if I had a Zoom session, it would be with me, all right? Because I was Future Home Realty. It was just a one-man show from 2001 to 2004, no Zoom needed. I could just go look in the mirror and have my own Zoom meeting at the time, all right, as if Zoom existed back then. But in 2004 is when we began to take on agents, and I set it up, and here was the vision back then, and it hasn't changed, right? I said, I'm gonna revolutionize the real estate industry. I'm gonna make this the most agent-centric model in the world. And, agent centricity means I'm going to focus on the agent profitability, because I was an agent, right? And I thought, hey, what would attract me to a real estate company? And what I said is, I'm going to make it, if I could get me to come to a company, I bet you I can get others to think that's a good idea too, right? And so I started with, I'm going to focus on agent profitability and growth and all that kind of stuff. And when I do that, then the company profit comes as a byproduct of that, right? If I do that enough times, then the company will be profitable, right? And so that's kind of the whole idea, right? We're going to focus on agent development. If you guys have been around me long enough to know that I'm big on personal development, right? That I want you to be a better you. And when you're a better you, you're going to be a better real estate agent, vacuum cleaner salesman, whatever, right? It doesn't matter as long as we focus on being a better you. And then that agent development, we're going to focus on emotional, intellectual, spiritual, physical, and then we put financial. But you know me, or you've been around me long enough to know that I say the first 4 lead to the 5th, right? That the financially is a byproduct of the first 4. So that's always been our vision. Always from the beginning, we've set that as our vision. Now, from that, we developed a mission statement, and the Future Home Realty. And by the way, this is all on our website if you ever want to check it out, if you didn't know where it was. But Future Home Realty exists to provide real estate agents the most profitable, effective, efficient place to run their business, right? That was my whole goal. It was a three-pronged approach that I wanted to help you be profitable by allowing you to keep your money when you earn it, right? Effective, meaning, hey, look, how are we going to grow? What are we going to learn? What's going to make us better people, therefore better agents? So we're going to focus on the effectiveness and efficiencies. Like we've had, paperless pipeline, and we've been virtual office for, kind of a while here, right? So we think that there's some efficiencies that we could put in place that allows us to pay you the money back without having to spend $30,000 a month for one office space, right? There's other ways to go about doing what we can do and still do that. So, and again, the operative word, I capitalized it, their business, meaning your business, right? We focus, hey, Hope, you're in business for yourself. Joanne, you're in business for yourself. Pam, Esteban, everybody's in business for themselves. My role, I see as the leader, is to help you run your business the most profitable, effective, efficient way, right? So that's always been the mantra and the value, okay? And then we go to our core values. What supports those? All right, integrity, me, this is the biggest one for me, that without it, you no need to even continue doing business, right? If you're gonna have a reputation where people can't trust what you say, then it's just not a good position to be in. So we need to focus on making sure that, and we're gonna seek people that are full of integrity. And quite frankly, if people don't have integrity, they're gone, right? It's just, we don't allow them to hang out, because I'll tell you a secret, the most they're gonna pay me is $4,000, right? So it makes it easy for me to say, hit the door anyway, all right? Now, if they were paying me $40,000, I would probably think about it 10 times longer, right? But since they're only paying me $4,000, I say, hey, you know what? You're doing way more damage to our reputation than the $4,000 you're bringing in. So have a nice day. There are other places to do your business. So it's been great. Because of that, though, we just got a great group of people. We really do. Our agents are just phenomenal. All right. And if one slips through the cracks and there's a bad apple that gets in there, we get them out quickly, because we don't want the barrel to be spoiled. Right. We just get them out fast. So integrity is key. Personal growth, we already hit on that, why it's so important, right? That we're going to focus on all those areas. Discipline, right? That success is not easy. It takes a disciplined approach on a daily basis to achieve success. Be willing to pay the price. That's one of our core values, is that we're not going to expect something for nothing. We're not going to just wish and hope that if I throw my sign in the yard, it's going to sell, right? What am I going to do? We owe it to our clients and to ourselves to make sure that we're disciplined in the way we go about doing things. Excellence. We're going to provide excellent service, right? We're going to do the extra thing. We're not going to let I tried be an excuse for results, right? It's a, hey, look, if we can't do it with an expectation of excellence, then we should not even start it to begin with. Fair enough. We're going to say, hey, you know what? That's beyond my scope. I don't know if I know commercial well enough, so I'm going to refer you to somebody that does, right? I don't know that I know this, section of town, so I'm going to refer you to somebody that does. I owe that to you as a client, right? Those are the kind of things that if I can't provide excellent service for you, I'm going to find someone who can, right? Pay it forward. I'm big about this, right? Let's give back to our community, find ways that we can contribute and all that kind of stuff. And we all know that we call it paying it forward because it does come back to us, right? Every time we give, we get. It's just it's a law of the generosity generation, right? It's the reciprocation of introductions and all that kind of stuff. So that's part of it. Teamwork. All right, you guys do a great job. I love seeing on our Facebook pages and everywhere else where people like, hey, can anybody pop over and show up for me? I got stuck back in the day. I got stuck at my son's orthodontist appointment. Can somebody run over? And I see it happening all the time. And it's amazing to see what the teamwork that we've been able to put together. Professional standards. We talked about this with continuing education and our code of ethics. All right. All that's great having it in writing, and we need to have that. But above all else, I think I have it right down here, right? About the fifth line down. Above all else, follow your own moral compass, right? We all have been ingrained with a moral compass. We know what's right and wrong. Sometimes I'll get calls from agents like, I'm just not feeling. I said, stop right there. If it's not feeling right, it's not right, right? That's as far as we need to go, because it's a fact that if it's just, I think God has gifted us with moral compasses to allow us to govern ourselves, right? And so follow that, right? And then follow the golden rule, right? That's a good one to follow. Responsibility, own mistakes, right? So when you make a mistake and things are going to happen, that's okay, but own them. I'll tell you this, in my own career, every time I've owned a mistake, I've more than, and when usually owning a mistake, FYI, means usually it costs you money, right? Just so you're aware, right? What does that mean? It means that you bought the refrigerator that you thought you wrote into the contract and forgot to, right? Or whatever, right? And so when you make a mistake like that and it costs you money, when you step up, own it, and make it right, the times when I've had to do things like buy a refrigerator, I've more than recuperated that money by the introductions to other people, because, hey, look, you got to use my realtor, Bob. I mean, he owned up to his mistake, and he really, you know what? Hey, and so their friend calls me, hey, I need to list my home, right? It's just, when you own it, it's do the right thing, right? Plus, we like to like the person in the mirror when we get up in the morning, right? And so we want to live that way. And win-win, all right? We want to seek transactions. Now, you know me, I love to fiercely represent our client, right? It means that if can be a single agent for the seller, I'm going to be a single agent for the seller. But I can do that without being a jerk to the other side, right? I can still seek things, because at the end of the day, most transactions are going to end up win-win for them to get to closing. If they're not win-win, they usually fall apart, right? And so that's why we want to seek those win-win things. So again, I just wanted to quickly cover those, because we love to do this in our May meetings and get to there. So anything I can add? Any questions? We got 5 minutes left. Any questions I can answer? Things I can help with? We'd love to see you at the office hours, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays if you have questions there. Obviously, if you have questions in the interim, reach out to me anytime. Here to help with anything. Joanne, you got something?
No, I just wanted, just in case I have a question, if somebody asks.
Oh, okay. Perfect. You want to be ready to go? Perfect. Yeah. Good deal. Anyway, Hope?
If they call you, should they call your direct line when I refer people to you? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yep. Especially in the Orlando area. Jim kind of handles most of Tampa, but in the Orlando and Jacksonville area, I'm the go-to guy. So yeah, we just have them give them, yep. Call my direct line. Call, whatever's easiest for them. Call, text, email, whatever their preference is. And I'd love to get the dialogue started.
Cool.
Because, and you guys should be, I think some of you have some checks coming. So just so you're aware, checks are coming. They're in the mail. I didn't list all 200 and whatever checks that we're sending out. So we're getting those. And we think it's the best 10% we ever spend, because you're doing deals with people I don't know every day. And if we can keep it where we keep you feeling comfortable in introducing us, then that's our job. And then we let you take it from there. So, cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else got anything we want to add? Look, we're going to end on time.
Yeah.
That's big news.
That's pretty rare for you, Bob.
What's that?
That's pretty rare for you.
I know.
I have a question. Earlier, you guys were talking about the different new tools available, especially the tours, or how you call it, Matterports, right?
Oh yeah, Matterports and virtual tours. Yes.
Right. When you are looking into that, I'm assuming that's something that we as realtor absorb the cost, or is that something that you guys will present to your seller as a way to increase the I guess the exposure, and ask for them to pay? Is that the case?
Hope. I mean, yeah. Again, yeah. I'm a big virtual. I mean, I always thought if I'm going to spend money, well, if I'm going to list a home, then I want to present it properly, right? And you only get one shot at making that first impression. And especially when we're in low inventory like we are, we don't want to just get it on the market and have it hit with just that one photo I took with my camera out front just so I can get it in the MLS, right? And do it. I'd rather wait to make sure that I know there's rules about how often we got to do it. But Esteban, yeah, I think it's a cost of doing business in my estimation, right? I don't see us passing that on to the client. In my view, everybody has their own business model, of course, and I support all of them. But I think for me, especially, what I would say is, hey, look, that's part of what I do to do, and that also kind of makes you think twice if you get somebody that's really, if you're going to be spending X amount of dollars on the front side, then, and you got a client who is extremely overpriced or unrealistic, you may want to rethink that. Hey, look, I'm going to spend money and not make any money if this person doesn't get more realistic. So it's going to force me to have a nice dialogue with that person on the front side to say, hey, if I'm going to put up some, money on the front side to get all this done, I need to know that we have an expectation and a realistic chance in getting to the closing table. Right. Cause that's why I don't get paid to list homes. I get paid to close homes. Right. So good point. Does anybody else have any feedback for Esteban on that or dialogues you've had with clients?
I would just like you, I think it's a cost of doing business, and it's, puts you as a professional, and I'm going to present their property as best I can. And that's part of it.
Perfect. I agree with you. And you know what? In the whole scheme of things, they're really not that expensive. The free market has made it pretty competitive. And Hope just said she has maybe when you guys talk about that builder, you can, Hope, you can share with Esteban that photographer.
This meeting, Hope.
Perfect. Yeah, because $200 is not bad for a virtual tour, photos, drone, and Matterport. That's a pretty good gig.
Great deal.
Yeah,
I think that's excellent.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Well, good. Anybody else?
Say, Bob, thank you for keeping us on the forefront and well informed. So thank you.
You're very welcome. You trust that I will continue to do that. And if you need anything, or if there's anything you want that we're not providing, let us know as well. Cool? Awesome. It's great. Always great to see you guys. It does my heart good to see everybody. And we'll be together soon. In the meantime, we'll continue to meet this way. And like I said, if you need anything else, let me know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.